the Viking of the night and of the community, Ragnor the Ravishing. Make yourself at home.
I will.
Yeah, good. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. So everyone, welcome to the Kings of Joy podcast show, live at the Bandstand by Qtopia Sydney. Yeah? Gathering here on Aboriginal land. So I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the land where we've gathered today on Gadigal country of the Eora Nation, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. So no treaty was ever signed, and it's time. There's something new coming. There's something coming. Something good is coming. I can feel it. So here we are. Ragnor the Ravishing.
Hello.
Hello. Tell us, where do you hail from?
I am from the northeast coast of England, from a Viking settlement called Skarthi Burg, also known as Scarborough. But seriously, the original name was Skarthi Burg.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's actually a Viking settlement, yeah.
Oh, wow. So this is okay, so we've gone deep. You went deep into your cultural heritage then. Yeah. Was that your inspiration for your drag king persona?
I think there's always a little part of me that's always just wanted to be a bit of a Viking, I'm not going to lie. So when I was looking at all of the options and what could I pull off, I was like, oh yeah, okay, let's give that a bash. And here I am.
Successfully. Yeah. And might I add, fresh from the stage, fresh. From your debut performance. Tell us about that.
I performed for the first time with a beautiful group of humans last week, and we danced to Cream by Prince. Yes. This armour is still smelling a little creamy, actually. I did give it a good wet wipe, but it didn't quite cut the mustard.
No.
Nor
the cream.
Oh, the cream. Yeah.
Oh. So last week was your debut performance.
Yeah.
What was it like having done the 6-week program, and what are you left with afterwards?
A lot of dates, actually. I got a lot of dates. It turns out Ragnar's a thing. Like, people are into Viking vibes. Right? Like, who would have ever thought that? Yeah.
But also, you're a Viking on a mission. You're not just any Viking, right?
No. I'm really trying to break Viking normative stereotypes. Yes. Not all of us are pillagers. Some of us are just villagers. What are you laughing at? And, sometimes we need to be able to show up in different ways without being stereotyped. Just because of what we look like on the outside doesn't mean that's who we are on the inside.
Absolutely. Can you say a little bit more about who you are on the inside, just to reveal?
Yeah, so I am a person who had a very challenging childhood, who struggled to be in my body for a long time, and who has made a career out of telling stories and being on stage in a different kind of way.
Yes.
Definitely less arse cheeks on showing my other role. And I've was diagnosed with autism and ADHD not long ago, and there's been a lot of transformational change in my own life, which I probably wouldn't have engaged with if I didn't have a marriage that didn't work, and that pushed me into all kinds of exploration. Who am I? What's next? And the lack of authenticity in which I was living, I think, was making me quite unwell. From a physical lens, like, I've always been a bit glass half full in my head, like I'm quite a happy human, really. But in my body, I was suffering from chronic pain and discomfort and just wasn't doing very well. So in the end, becoming medicated for my ADHD, going on a journey where I could start to embrace being in my body again, because I've always kind of just felt like I was this orb floating around with this body attached to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's been a journey that I've been very intentionally going through. So I can redefine trauma in the body to be about love, pleasure, and not pain and the discomfort of trauma, whether that's generational trauma or the other traumas that come with it. So that's been my journey, and that's how I got involved with the Kings of Joys. My best friend did the program about 1.5 years ago, and then I was like, oh, what's this? And I came along. They were a cat daddy, by the way. That was
ultimate cat daddy.
The ultimate cat daddy.
Max Muse.
Yes. And I was like, I was like, wow, this is really brave. And then a few other people I knew did it. And at that time, I was probably really lacking in confidence in some ways, lots of confidence in other ways. And was like, okay, I need to kind of explore, is this something I want to do? And as part of being around that community, I started to learn a lot more about gender diversity and things that had probably been going on in me that I'd been suppressing for a long time. And I tell the story now of how when I was younger, I used to get everybody to call me Andy, and I would only hang out with boys, and girls were a bit gross. For the whole of my childhood, just wanted to play soccer, and why are they allowed to run around with their shirt off, and I'm not allowed to run around with my shirt off on the 2 days a year in Scarborough when it's sunshined? I mean, even a glimmer of sunshine behind that cloud and we'll have our clothes off, you know?
Yeah.
So it's something I'd suppressed for a long time. And once I started exploring it, there was no hiding Andy anymore. Everywhere I looked, Andy was there. Everyone I spoke to was on a journey that Andy could relate to. And the reality came where it was like, actually, if I'm going to live my next decade of my life in full authenticity of who I am, I need to remember that Andy is this beautiful human that deserves to be here and exist and not be afraid of being who I am. So I think, so that's how I came to get involved. I've always used humor and comedy as a way of like, disarming people so I can be the true version of myself throughout life. And it served me very well, if I'm being honest. But sometimes I think you do have to have honest, real candor within the authenticity in which you want to show up, so people know you mean business. And I'm really proud. It's not been an easy journey, certainly with my career. I've had to take quite a few people on the journey with me, and I changed my pronouns to she, they, not because I am she, they, but because I know it's important that maybe the way I can show up is to create a safe space for those that are not as exposed to gender diverse people to get it wrong in the pursuit of them getting it right. So that's one of the reasons I changed my pronouns to she, they, was just so eventually the people that, you know, might not be able to get with the program will get there with my patience. And I know that some people are like, no way, get my pronouns right. And that's how I feel inside. I heard Chris correct somebody earlier on my pronouns and my heart sank, and I was like, oh my God, when that happens, I really feel seen and loved. And, but it's a journey, and I'm in a position within my career and in my role where I can take people on a journey, and transformation takes time and patience, and that's something I have in abundance. So that's my story until now.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. Yeah. And I know you've always had a strong connection with performance as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and your story with performance?
Yeah, so I grew up on a traveller community on the northeast coast of England, and it was like tourist caravan parks, a bit like the NRMA Big Four parks that you've got here. Except because it's raining all the time in the UK, they've got these big entertainment centres in the middle of them. So as a kid, I grew up around traveling show people my whole entire life, from circus to performers to big, massive Broadway productions. Like, it was a very overly sensory environment for a child like me, but it probably resulted in me having all of these unique communication abilities for somebody who's autistic. And I'd met thousands of people from a young age and could read people well, because everything was, you know, I was on fight or flight response all the time as a kid. So it was always a place that I could go and I could daydream and I could be in a different place. You know, when I could sing, and I learnt to dance from a young age, it was a place of escapism, really. And you know how a lot of neurodivergent people, one of the things is, are you a daydreamer? And it's like, yeah, I never want to come back. I love that place. So that was my childhood growing up. And I also went into the care system for a while. And one of the saving graces for me, getting kicked out of school, not because I was like a mean kid, but I was just disruptive. Like, I was an undiagnosed, unmedicated ADHD teenager that had grown up in a completely different environment and didn't operate within this system. So I'm like, why are we doing that? What's the point in that? Why are you doing that? Why do I have to wear this uniform? Why is it? And they were just like, get them out of here, bloody hell, they're so annoying. So for me, at that age, it was, you know, sex, drugs and rock and roll. Now it's more like same-sex, vitamin B and gluten-free sausage rolls. I say that joke every time, but everyone loves it. Sometimes vegan, you know. So really, my journey throughout my life has been where sometimes it's the most unlikely characters that show up and have got the next key or piece to the puzzle for you. In the moments where you feel despair, in the moments where you feel alone. And loneliness is one of the most chronic conditions that we face in this world, that so many terrible outcomes come from with regards to mental health and all of those things. And I've been lucky enough along the way to have met people that gave me the opportunity. I got the opportunity to go to drama school, which was an Alan Ayckbourn. I don't know if anyone knows Alan Ayckbourn, the playwright, an amazing playwright from the North East Coast. Getting into that was a way at that age where I was able to suddenly be in all of these characters that helped me process the reality of what had just gone on in my life. And even when I was at school, I had a stammer. This stammer came out of the blue from nowhere. And you know, when you're at school and you like get that crippling anxiety, like, oh my God, you've got to read in a circle and then they're going to come to me and I just want to die, and your anxiety peaks just before you have to do it. And I just went through this terrible period of just not being able to get my words out. And it's because I was so unable to process the world that was going on around me. But then when I started performing, I didn't stammer. I didn't stammer when I was in character. And it was something that, you know, when you look at like Stanislavski and method acting and all of those things, it was a coping mechanism where I would get so into these characters that I could just be there somewhere else for a little while, because it meant I could deal with the world. And it meant I could do monologues about people that had been hurt, because that's how I felt. It meant I could be all of the different things that I needed to be for myself at that time. And interestingly, throughout my life, in the different phases of my life, performance has always showed up just at the time when I needed to get into character, to transition into my next chapter. And this isn't any different, actually, from that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Amazing. And so, with your experience of Kings of Joy, because you have been someone who has been watching from the wings for a little while, but not just watching from the wings, you've been someone who's been the wind underneath the wings of the Kings of Joy community and who we are and what we stand for. And then to have you finally, you know, participate in the program itself and go through it, have your own lived experience of it. What was that like in terms of looking at it from the outside and then now having gone through the program? What are the key kind of takeaways, I guess?
I think the first thing that really struck me about the Kings of Joy was literally the joy. And I just spend my whole existence trying to be in a state of joy for it. And I know we have to change in life and sometimes things aren't joyful and this and that, but I love to laugh. I just love to feel joy. And in this next chapter of my life, I've done so much freaking work on myself. I am deserving some joy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's always been the positive psychology side of stuff is something that I've seen within my career and the work I do, create spaces that people who've gone through the most remarkable trauma journeys can start to recover. Because when we laugh and when we create a space of joy, we break the differences and the boundaries between us, and just for a minute we're all 8 years old. You know what I mean? And it's the power of music as well. We're on a frequency, it's a frequency. And I've always been really fascinated by that. Even when I was performing, I was the dork that was in the lighting box that was like, but how is this lighting change creating such a mood difference? Does anyone else notice this? Does anyone else find this fascinating? And you could just adjust this and this and this, and the frequency changes the mood and the atmosphere. And I always remember, as a kid, I would be so overexposed to performance, I would watch other people watching things for the first time, because I would be vicariously enjoying the experience through them. And that's one of the things I recognised through Kings of Joy, was like people were going through this experience for the first time and quite magnificent transformations within themselves, from a confidence level, from a just wherever they were on the journey. And so I think the bravery of the people within the community was something that really struck me and engaged me ongoing. Would be like, wow, that was brave, or and they did this, and then I'd hear this person's story and that person's story, and I think that really gave me the bravery. I found myself asking the questions that you do when you're not quite sure, but you're like, so how do you identify? I'm asking for a friend. Like, what's okay? And you had surgery, and did you decide to have full top surgery, and were you thinking about keeping a little bit of boob, or where were you? And do you think, what do you think about this and that? And then I just really kind of needed to grab the bull by the horns and be like, fucking hell, just get with the program. Like, this is you now. Like, and I think having met some beautiful people along the way who have taken the time and the grace and the patience to help me process and navigate, because it did crop up in the past. And my past partner, we were in a biracial relationship, and there were other layers of things that were difficult to navigate. So I'd always kind of thought, oh God, I don't want to put this into the mix as well. And I think the freedom of being on my own for the past couple of years on a very intentional healing journey, so I'm the most beautiful version of me for my next chapter, by the way, spread that around, is so that I can really be solid in who I am and what I can do, and how I show up for my next chapter with health and authenticity. So the journey for me has been around observation, listening, challenging myself and my own ignorance, and pre-existing biases and lack of understanding, to a place of open-minded curiosity and pride with regards to who I am and the community that I'm now very proud to be part of. So I'd say that's been the biggest. It's been probably one of the most transformative journeys the last kind of year and a half in my life. I'd say it's up there. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Ragnor the Ravishing, everybody. Yeah, I have loved having you being part of the experience, and the way that you've definitely been an uplifter in this community. So thank you.
Thank you, Danica. And thank you to you for everything you do. You know, I will literally keep talking until someone tells me to shut up, by the way. So, like, you should have had better cues probably.
30 seconds.
Yeah. So I just want to say, you know, it's very rare to find really safe spaces that are creatively free and integrity, which is really about showing up exactly the way you say you are in all of the ways you say you're going to for the community, and constantly thinking about the safeguarding and the well-being and the ways in which you can continue to support this space. And I would say in all of the spaces I've worked within, this is one of the most remarkable and unique communities I might have ever come across, actually. Right? Yeah. So I just want to say thank you to you and to Chris, because it's quite remarkable. And if I would have never thought I would have been on stage with my ass cheeks out a year ago. So I'm so grateful for what you do, and I'm so grateful for your friendship and support through this chapter. I'll never forget it, and I'll always be an ambassador and support the work you're doing as a result.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much, Ragnor the Ravishing.